Hi, in today's lesson we're going to look at an overview of topic 1. So in this lesson we'll do the overview. In lesson 1.2 we're going to look specifically at paper 1. We're going to look at the questions, how they're laid out, and the timing that applies to every section. Then in lesson 1.3 we're going to do the same but for paper 2, again looking at the different sections that appear, where you should spend your time, where you can move quickly, where you have to be very, very careful. Then in lesson 1.4, we're going to do an overview of the marking scheme. So the PCLM marking scheme applies to every section of the English paper. So P is for clarity of purpose, then you have coherence of delivery, efficiency of language and mechanics. So understanding the marking scheme lets you think like an examiner and you can see where you're picking up marks and where you're losing marks. Then in lesson 1.5, we're going to look at how to structure your answers, specifically focusing on topic sentences, where to quote, and how to lay out your paragraphs. In lesson 1.6, we're going to do embedding quotes. So you have to quote extensively on paper 2, but also in your answer on question A on paper 1. So knowing how to quote smoothly, so you're not just giving the examiner huge tracts of text to wade through, it's really helpful. Then in lesson 1.7, we'll look at the apostrophe. Now, it's not the most particularly exciting form of punctuation, but if you're the type of person that just throws in an apostrophe wherever you see an S, well, that lesson is definitely for you. In lesson 1.8, we're going to go through a checklist for how to write essays for paper 2. So the idea being that if you use these checklists as you're actually doing your homework or sitting down to study, when it comes to the exam, the steps involved in that checklist will have become second nature and will give you great confidence in the exam. Then in lesson 1.9, I'm going to look at the 2024 paper 1 and just show you how I would select the questions if I was sitting down in those first 5 minutes in the exam hall. Then in lesson 1.10, I'm going to do the same for the 2024 paper 2, but it is just worth noting that the prescribed material, that's the material that you have to study for paper 2, that changes every year. So when we look at the 2024 paper 2, some of the sections, the questions might not seem familiar, but the overall approach is the exact same. So for example, the students in 2024, many of them answered on Hamlet, and you'll be answering on King Lear if you follow the set texts that we're using here. So what's the best way to actually approach higher level English? So it can seem or feel overwhelming at the start because between the two papers, you're writing for over 6 hours. So when you sit down to study, it can be difficult to know where to begin. So I would first of all recommend that you understand the layouts of both papers. So understanding the layouts just gives you a little bit of confidence that you know what the exams themselves actually look like. And I think that that's a really useful tool for any of the subjects that you sit for your Leaving Cert. Then for English, I would ask that you learn your language features and your techniques. So for the language features, there are 5 main language styles, and we go through those in topic 2, where we look at question A. And for the techniques, we're going to look at those in topic 10, where we approach the unseen poetry section. All of your poetic techniques are done for you there, and they're repeated again in topic 11. So after you know your language features and your techniques, you're comfortable with the definitions, how to explain them, and you know how to look for examples as well, you need to just start studying your material for paper 2. So that's your single text, your comparative texts, and your studied poets as well. Then I would recommend that you practice your composition. So the composition appears on paper 1, and the composition is worth 25% of your overall Leaving Cert English grade. And so many students neglect to focus on this section. They spend lots and lots of time studying, let's say, for their studied poetry section, but studied poetry is worth 50 out of 400 marks total, whereas composition is worth 100 out of 400 marks total. So you need to make sure that you don't avoid that area of study and practice because it can definitely boost your marks. Then you should be practicing question A from paper 1, the reading comprehension. Although the text changes every year, the skills that you can pick up, they'll always help you in an exam. Then you're going to practice your paper 2 essays, actually sitting down and writing them. And when you're practicing your paper 2 essays, ideally you will do so without your notes, without your quotes. So you try to do it based on what's in your head, because that's what's actually going to show you how ready you are for the exam. And then last of all, you start practicing all of the above, keeping the timing in mind, so that you actually sit down and, let's say, write a King Lear essay in 60 minutes. And knowing the timing, being very comfortable and feeling that pressure at home when you're practicing, it again gives so much confidence for you in the exam. So in the next lesson, we're going to look at an overview of paper 1. I'll see you there.
If you like this video, you'll love our notes. You can get some for free in the link in the description of this video.